Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of the Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phill Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We will have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to the YouTube channel UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, also Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbean. Also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio, and join if you haven't. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight we have a very amazing guest. Please welcome Miss Geri Pritchard Reyes to the show. Geri is a psychic medium that also specializes in Reiki. She is a member of CROP, that's CROP, and has a podcast show called Vibe Time with Geri on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. EST. Tonight we're going to talk about all of her gifts and abilities and some of her great experiences that she has encountered while paranormal investigating. So again, you can catch her, Geri, on the Vibe Radio Network every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. EST. So please let's welcome Geri to the show.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm glad that y'all invited me. It's a pleasure. Honor too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it.
So tell us, like in the beginning, there's always a beginning story.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get started? Like, let's go back to adolescence in your life and any apparitions, encounters with ghosts or anything.
Yeah, I've had the ability to see and speak with spirits since I was 6 years old. So I had what most people call an imaginary friend, but I guess it really wasn't an imaginary friend. I mean, that's what people call it, but it wasn't. So that was where the experience started, as far back as I can remember anyway.
Okay, so you said 6 years old. Did you actually see with your eyes?
Yes.
What did you see?
Just different spirits, different places, but really didn't know how to handle. I mean, you're 6 years old, so you don't really know how to handle things like that. It's scary. I got pinched by a spirit too, when I was staying at this one farmhouse. So, you just saw things, but you didn't know how to cope with what you were seeing, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. It's interesting because most of my guests, including myself at adolescence, had experience. And that's why I really try to get down. There's always a beginning point.
Yes.
Of why you are where you are today in paranormal and how you got into being an investigator and Reiki and all that good stuff. There's always a beginning. And I just want to know, did you see shadow or did you see an actual person at 6?
Sometimes it was shadows and sometimes it was actual people. And then sometimes it wasn't anything. You just knew that a presence was there.
Yeah.
You just knew it. And we used to stay at this farmhouse on the weekends, and there was a ghost, if you will, that haunted that house. Her name was Miss Annie. But I didn't have good experiences with her. I would turn the radio on, she would turn it down. I'd turn it up, she would turn it down. And then when I would try to sleep, she pinched me, or she smacked me too. But she was able to mimic a voice that sounded like the woman that owned the house, the actual owner of the house. And she would call me down the steps. I would think that it was her calling me down the steps, and it wasn't. So she was able to do stuff like that. Now, when I reflect back and I look at that, how intelligent she really was. But I mean, it just varied. I would either see shadows, I would either see full apparitions, or like I said, I would just know that there was an energy there.
Because you would feel the energy.
Yeah, but you just, when you're 6 and you're young like that, you don't know how to handle stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, as I got into my teenage years, my mom and my mom and dad took me to a psychiatrist because they thought that everything was in my head.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting how that
Yeah,
works?
it was. I had, so they
Yeah.
medicated me. They put me on all kinds of stupid little antidepressants, and eventually those made me sick. So my dad was like, "Well, you're not going to take these anymore." He flushed them down the toilet, and I ended up in a hospital for a few days because he just pulled me off of something,
Yeah, you can't do
you
that.
know.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
now moving forward, like to today, my mom admits that she, sees spirit. She can feel their presence, and she feels bad for what she did. But back in that time, it was so taboo. It was
Yeah.
devilish or devil worshiping, or you're going to burn in
Yeah.
hell if you
Yep.
do
It was a
stuff
total.
like that. So
People
Yeah.
didn't
yeah,
understand.
Yeah.
today's a little
So
more open.
Yeah.
today it's opened up.
Yeah.
So your mom came to realize, and that she tells you she has a gift, right?
Yeah.
Let's go
So
back
we
to
we
the.
we
Let's go
talk a lot
back.
about it. Yeah, go
Let's go
ahead.
back to grandparents,
Ooh.
aunts, uncles.
According to some of my family that I have spoken to, they have the same abilities I do, but they are not as open with their abilities as I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
sister is sensitive. My brother he's not. But my sister is. She doesn't. I don't think she sees apparitions. She feels presences. But like I said, they said that they have that, but I'm just wide open with it, because I don't want people that, I don't want people to struggle the way I had to struggle with what
Yeah.
I had. So I don't want people to feel alone. That's why I'm very transparent with what I have. I'm at the point in my life now, I don't care.
Well,
I don't.
you know, uh, I'm with you on that, and like I said, through adolescence, I went through similar things you went through
Hmm.
as far as like the encounters. And back in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s, that
Yeah.
was like you said, taboo. And
Mhm.
I was in
Unheard of.
Catholic school, so parents didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Um, but today's day and age, it has evolved,
Yes.
and it's changed. And I think that everyone with a gift don't feel embarrassed, shy,
Right.
Mhm.
or anything because you have a gift and you're able to
Yeah.
contact, and that is a gift.
That
And for
is.
those people, there's always going to be a naysayer. They're
Yeah.
not going to get it. And you know
Yeah.
what I say? That's okay. And I
Yeah.
say that's okay because in this lifetime, I feel they're not meant to get it.
Yeah.
They're just not
Right.
meant to comprehend it the way some people can't comprehend other things. And that's fine. Don't criticize or debunk what you don't understand,
Mhm.
but it is okay not to believe.
Yeah.
That's fine. I get it.
Right.
So, having said that, all right, so you have this gift. It's at a young age. Now, take us to teenage years. What's going on?
Teenage years after, oh my gosh, so many. I'm going to tell you what, with my teenage years, it was a little bit difficult. So I ended up going to the psychiatrist, getting medicated. My dad took me off of that stuff. Well, it continued to happen. But then things got taken a step further. I started to see things before they happened.
Ah, yeah.
So one night I'm getting ready to go to work because I worked at Fort Eustis, which is a military base in our area, and I worked in there. I was a DJ in one part, and I worked at a museum in another part. So I'm getting ready to go to work, and all of a sudden I see this car. I black out at my table. I'm sitting there eating, and then all of a sudden everything around me goes black, and unfortunately I'm the only one home. But anyway, I see this accident occurring, and I'm just seeing something happen before it happened. So I get in my car, I drive to the corner, and lo and behold, this truck goes by, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just saw that truck. And I'm watching it drive down the road. Rich Neck Road is where my mom is at. But anyway, I'm driving down, I'm watching this blue truck drive down the road, and then I see the van that went through the stop sign and hit the truck. Well, it happened right in front of me. So I'm sitting over here reliving this, and the woman, I saw the injuries and everything when I blacked out, but when it was for real, I freaked out, and I went back home, and I just sobbed and cried. I remember just sitting at the table, sobbing and crying. I'm like, you know what? I don't want this. I said, I don't even want to talk to, I don't want to see any spirits. I don't want to see things before they happen. I don't want this. Please take it away from me. I don't want it anymore. And it was taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So from adolescence all the way to when I turned about 32 years old, somewhere around their 30s, I had no experiences, didn't feel anything anymore, just leading a normal life. And I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but that's what happened.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I come back to Virginia, because I lived in Georgia for several years. I lived in Savannah for a long time. Come back to Virginia, go to a funeral, and I touched this body of Pop-Up. That was his name. I grabbed his hand and I said, I'll see you in another lifetime. Well, as soon as I did that, it activated everything. Everything started coming back.
Mm-hmm.
He was standing beside me at the funeral, even though he was in the coffin, and I started freaking out because I'm like, why is he standing next to me? And he follows me home, and then he's dictating a poem to me, which I have written in a book. It's going to be in my book that I'm working on. And he was, the Whoopi Goldberg show on The Ghost. You know how he sits there all night and talks to her
Yes.
in her ear. Okay, that's what happened to me that whole night.
Oh, man.
So I had to auto write this poem that he wrote for his wife because he wanted her to know that he was okay. And so I went ahead and I wrote it, drove all the way to her house, and she was a very Bible person, so it was very difficult for me to approach her and say, Pop-Up wanted me to give you this message, but I ended up doing it anyway. And then it just started taking off from there. It was just constantly seeing and communicating with spirits. And I honestly thought that I needed to be locked up in Eastern State Hospital, which is one of our state hospitals in the state of Virginia where the cray people go.
It's so crazy how
I'm telling you my story. The whole thing is bizarre, so I'm thinking I'm nutty because I got all these spirits coming. I don't know what to do.
Sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
That's a crazy story, but it makes total sense.
Yeah, but everything fell into place because I'm in Urbana, Virginia, and I'm taking a walk one day, and I'm not lying to you. I tripped on the curve. We have a curve, and I tripped on it. And when I tripped, I fell on these steps. And when I looked up at the sign, it was an essential oils crystal shop. And I'm like, what is that? I didn't know what it was. So I'm like, what is that? So I go in there, girl, there were spirits all over the place. And I'm just like looking around, and I looked at the owner, and she looked at me and she said, are you okay? I said, you got a bunch of dead people in here. They're just walking around and they're weird. And some of them are real creepy. I'm like, this house just seems like a party house to me. And she said, oh, you're one of those reader people. And I said, I'm a what? She said, you're a reader. And I was like, what is that? Because I didn't know what she was talking about. I'm thinking I'm going to burn in hell. That's how we were raised. So Katie Bug was her name. She owned an essential oils and crystal shop. She started mentoring me. And she started to teach me how to accept what I had, because I was really, really having a hard time. That's why I don't want anybody to ever feel alone, because it'll drive you nuts to where you think you need to go to the nutbag ward and you don't. So she taught me how to embrace, started to teach me how to embrace what I had. And it just kind of took off from there. And she was like, I really think you need to learn how to do Reiki. So I did learn how to do that. And it's been good ever since. I haven't looked back on that.
No, it makes you stronger.
Yeah.
It makes your awareness a lot better in the physical world, because you also have spiritual connections like a lighthouse. And that's good, because that helps you get through the journey that you're on now.
Yeah.
I know it helps me as well. And then you're forewarned about certain things in your life.
Yes.
So now, today's day and age, you still see spirits.
Yes.
What do they look like in today's day?
So it depends on where I go. I can be in town, sitting there innocently minding my own business, eating breakfast, and I'll see shadow figures go about. They're just black, shadowy people. I have oh my gosh, one day I was going to a town meeting and there was a man that stopped at the crosswalk and he was solid. He was in a black suit, white shirt, black shoes. He was dressed up to go somewhere. I stopped at the crosswalk to let him cross the street. Well, he dissipated. As soon as I looked at him, he just dissipated.
Wow.
So that's the second time that's happened. The other time was in Williamsburg. It was a full figured woman in a stroller standing at the crosswalk. And I stopped and my mom said, "What are you stopping for?" I said, "The lady needs to cross the street." I mean, she was solid as a rock. And my mom said, "What?" And there was nothing there. She dissipated. So it varies. I mean, sometimes I see them as shadow. Sometimes they come into my third eye and they're showing me pictures up here. When I do readings and I do Reiki, a lot of times it's coming in here and it's showing me video, like a movie, or a beacon, pictures, or it varies. Sometimes they'll come in little pops of light. So it just depends on where I'm at, honestly.
And how do you hear the spirits?
I have a constant ringing in my ear and I tune into that ringing, or sometimes they will hit me intuitively. If I'm doing Reiki on somebody and they want to get a message across, I'll make them constantly repeat the message to me until I guess that's a validation for me to give to that person before I open my mouth. But sometimes they'll intuitively talk to me, or sometimes it'll tune into that ringing I got in my ear. And I'll hear it that way. Because I have a high-pitched nonstop ring in one ear. And like at nighttime, when I want to listen to spirit talk, I'll lay on my side and then I just quietly listen, and you can hear them all talk. And that's why when I get up in the morning, sometimes I'll post on Facebook, "Boy, it was very active tonight." It's like a party, because all you hear is chitter chatter.
And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with like the constant chatter? Can you turn yourself off when you need to?
Yeah, I can turn it off. And as far as spirit coming to me, I make appointments with them. I've had to learn to schedule. I know people laugh at me about this, but they were getting to the point. I would try to drive, they would sit in my car. I would try to go to sleep, they'd run their finger up my back or tap me. That was the worst thing. So I don't lay on a certain part of my back, because they mess with me that way. They'll be like, "Hey, I need you to write something," and they'll tap my back and wake me up. And so Katie Bug, I told her, I said, they are very dominating. And she said, she nailed me. She was like, "You really, really need to schedule an appointment with them." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She said, "You talk to them just like you talk to human beings, and they have to respect your boundaries." And where I messed up at was I wasn't setting boundaries. So now, like, if a spirit has me auto write, I'll schedule it. I'll be like, "Okay, I need you." If they come into my car, I'll be like, "I need you to come back later because I'm trying to drive." And but they do. And then I'll start doing my little auto writing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I get that. Automatic writing. That's fascinating. Now let's really get down to something.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Have you gotten intelligent responses, saying, "Hey, they're telling you something the right then and there moment"?
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, like they know someone's coming to your house. Like you're expecting a guest, and they know the guest is going to come there. Like your cousin, anybody.
Yes, I have had that. It's most of the time, if somebody passes, they will, I don't know how to explain it, shoot me a name of a person that's going to come visit me for Reiki, because there's a message that needs to be given to that person.
Okay.
So I have had that happen. As a matter of fact, I had a lady come, and it was really just supposed to be her for Reiki, but then her loved one stepped out and said, "Nah, she ain't coming by herself, and it's not about Reiki." So when they got here, I was like, "I knew you were already bringing somebody else." And your mom said, "It's not about Reiki. It's about you needing answers and you wanting to get a relief that she's okay. So I ended up not doing Reiki, and I ended up just doing a full-blown reading because the spirit was so strong that she wasn't going to shut up until I gave the message. I'm not trying to be rude, but she just would not be quiet.
Mhm.
And I can joke like that because she was a joking spirit, so she knows the deal.
That's interesting.
I
Do
mean,
you
they get
think-
detailed.
Oh yeah, no, I relate to that,
Fascinating.
and I guess to that specific question because it happened to me back in the '90s when a spirit had told me and a couple friends that someone was coming to my house, and within 5 minutes,
Mm.
someone came to my house, and they knew
Yeah.
that person. And
Yeah.
I found that to be fascinating in one sense that you get the goosebumps and scared and all that, but it's also fascinating because it shows you that it's in our time because there's no time on their side,
Right.
and it's that realism of we think part of us thinks we're not alone, and the other
Mhm.
part says no, 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 they're here as well. They
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see, they can hear, they can touch. Like you said, you've been pinched.
Yes.
So then my question to you is, do the spirits live on multiple dimensions? Do they exist on multiple dimensions? So basically, when someone crosses over, can they be here and there at the same time?
From what I have been shown by spirit, they can be two places at one time. One of my friend's mothers passed away, and she said she was in a different dimension, but she liked it because she could do two visits at one time. She could be at her daughter's house and her other daughter's house at the same time. And then she told me they didn't walk, they floated because I was walking on the water with her daughter, and she was behind us, and she was like, I was like, dang, I got to walk down this hill because it was a hill down to the water. And she was like, oh, I just float down there, but she liked it because she, according to, like I said, what I've been shown, they can be two places at one time.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that's kind of
definitely agree
neat.
with that.
Split that energy.
Yep.
I think it's
Definitely.
fascinating, and I study a lot of near-death experiences, people that
Yeah.
actually died and they brought them back, and the spirit they say, look, I've seen you,
Yeah.
and you were in Georgia, and I've seen you, you were in New York, and I was
Yeah.
with both of you, and I find that amazing because they knew things that they can't know. It's impossible to know.
Right.
They knew it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So to me, and my communication, I believe that there are multiple dimensions, and somebody said that we just can't really comprehend that yet
Yeah.
because it's not that it's
I agree.
advanced, it's just that it's not in our understanding of how the
Right.
whole thing works in our perception of
Right.
we think like, okay, we cross over, we're
Yeah.
a ghost, or we go to heaven, hell, whatever your belief is, and or
Right.
purgatory. But they're saying we have it, we're not really getting it, and we're not going to get until you're actually
Mhm.
over there. Because
Right.
it's all different than but it's true. It does exist.
Right.
And, my question to you would be reincarnation. What's your thoughts?
Look, I believe in reincarnation, and I have already made a stand that I do not want to reincarnate. Nope. I want to learn everything. That's what I was talking about tonight when I got invited somewhere. I don't want to make promises I can't keep because evidently in a past life, I was a very irresponsible person. I didn't care about anything. And when I had a reading done, that's what came out of it. And I don't want to reincarnate. I think I'm at number 13, he said, or something like that. But I really don't want to reincarnate and come back here. I firmly believe in reincarnation. But if I just want to be a ghost and haunt people that have done me wrong. That's
Yeah,
that is
Who
my
wants to come
plan.
back?
I don't want to come back here. Look at where it's at now. Hell no.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't.
No,
I
agree with you.
Yeah, I don't want to come back.
I don't want to come
So-
back either.
Yeah, I'm trying not to I was told do not make any promises I can't keep. So, because if I
there you
do
go.
that, it's going to mess up my karmic debt that I'm trying to pay off this year. And I have until January to get it done. So I'm a firm believer with this stuff.
Here's something that could be mind blowing. And I don't know if you ever tried this. I never did, but I just thought of it. Have you ever asked the spirit to show you who you were and where you were buried in a past life?
Good question.
I did a past life regression therapy session, and I know that I died as a little girl in a fire of smoke inhalation, and my parents were killed, and I was buried in a field of flowers. But I've never like asked a spirit to show me. But that did come out in a past life regression therapy session that I did.
Okay.
Which I recommend anybody to do those.
You know what? I would love for someone to do that to me.
Oh, I loved it.
I would love that.
You really should try it, and I'll tell you why. Because it number one, it shows you why you like or dislike certain things. You get your answers as to why you are the way you are. And not only that, it's like it gives you a second stepping stone to your journey, if you will. It moves you in a whole different, how do I put it? I don't know the right word for it. It puts you in a whole different mindset, because then you understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
You know, I can't explain it to you. Yeah.
The soul's journey.
Yeah, it just puts you in a whole different mindset. I don't know. Yeah, a different mindset, but a whole different realm of things. You know, you finally got some answers that you were looking for. So I highly recommend, if people, you know, want to be more in tune to themselves, is what I'm trying to say, I would recommend a past life regression therapy session. And I'm going to do another one. This wasn't the last. I did the first one, and I would like to do a second one, because I think there's more out there that I haven't seen. You know, it made me understand why I was drawn to essential oils, even though I, you know, tripped and fell on Katie Begg's steps. But it made me understand why I've been attracted to certain, you know, to do certain herbs and just do things for people. It was just fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. That's something I definitely want to do.
Yeah, and make sure you get to record it. Make sure whoever does it on you allows you to record it, because if they don't, then you don't need them. Then don't. If somebody does not let you record something, then stay away from them, because my sessions, when I do my Reiki on people, I don't let them run a video on me, because I don't like that, but I will let them hit the record button and record what we're talking about. I don't care. I'm just there to deliver the message and, you know, detach from the outcome.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah. So you do believe in reincarnation. You said you've been maybe 13 times.
Yeah.
Which I believe in reincarnation as well. So then here comes the question is, you're a paranormal investigator. You and I both believe in spirits on the other side. So have you been to a haunted location where the history of back in the 1800s that John Doe and his family crossed over, and then you go there and you're contacting John Doe and his family, right? Well, the question arises, if there's reincarnation, which I believe, then who are you speaking to? Because are we saying that they never left the house and they were not reincarnated? Or is it possibly something of a footprint of them mimicking them as an imitation?
Sometimes when I get caught up in situations like that, I'm wondering if it's residual energy from that person.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, that's a hard one, because that's what I'm wondering sometimes when a person comes to me like that. You know, gosh, I don't know. That's just been my thought process with stuff. I haven't really been in situations when I go to a historical spot, with the exception of one situation that was taken care of last month, where this doctor stepped out and said that he wanted to be crossed over, and he followed me home. I ended up having to do that. But like when I go to places, colonial, you know, 1700 places, I get flashed back to what happened with the history. It's like everything blacks out, and then it's like a movie being played of, it's almost like I'm standing in an IMAX theater looking at the history part of it. I don't know if that happens to you. It happens to me.
But I'm going to tell you what's interesting. We've been to haunted locations, and I will tell you that, again, I do believe in reincarnation, but what's interesting is that they're active, the spirits in these locations, and these places go back in back 100, 200 years,
Yeah.
and they're intelligent as if they are the person that crossed over, and they're still
Right.
there. And that rings a bell like, well, why? And is it
Right.
really that person?
Right.
And I'm going to go into this part. I have had many different encounters with the Ouija board, and I don't recommend it unless you know what you're really doing with it.
Right.
But what was interesting about the Ouija board was this, is that the spirits that did come through were intelligent, active, and somewhat unfriendly. But it was the now and here I am, and they were there in real time. But they also said where they crossed over, and I've been to those places where they crossed over. And it's as if they're existing on multiple levels of dimensions. And again, when I said that the near-death experiences where they said we're really not going to get it, I guess because we're really not going to get it, because that is so far out that they said it's the consciousness that goes on. It's not.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. I mean, the way they're saying it is that our minds really can't grasp it. It's so far out there. But it leads me to believe that the soul and the soul's journey can exist on multiple planes while you're here in the physical world and other places. Let's go to deja vu. Have you ever had where you said, you know what, I've been here. I know I've been here.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Several times. But I think that I don't think that we need to see everything, because I think if we saw everything, it would scare us to death, literally. And what I mean by that is I have friends, for instance, that see very dark spirit. That's all they see. They see the hooded figures. They don't see, I'm used to dealing with good spirit, that comes to me when I'm doing readings. But I know people that can see things like dark angels that we can't see.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd want to see that. I don't know if I would want some dark, silky, 6'8" or 9" dark angel standing over my bed. But I have a friend in Germany that sees that.
Okay.
I have never seen that. I don't want her experience. I think that just would scare me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think with the different dimensions, I think if we saw everything, we would die, because it would scare us, literally.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be too creepy, and it would be life spoiler of life, like,
So you said before that, you've had spirits that followed you home. Have you had any like real attachments that just like wouldn't go away?
That was part of my illness. I don't know if y'all were aware, which you probably haven't been, but back November 13th of last year, I got really bad vertigo, and it was a very bad heaviness. I still have it today, but it wasn't like it was. Well, I had to have somebody remove some attachments, because what I found out was that my body was so heavy, and I couldn't figure out why. I knew I had the vertigo, but it felt like there was something more than just vertigo. So a psychic medium happened to look at me, and she was like, you know what, I think you need some help. I see a couple of attachments, because I couldn't feel them. I just knew that something didn't feel right to me. And I ended up having those removed. And when those removed, all that heaviness that I was getting when I was trying to, function went away. I still had the dizziness, but it's not like somebody dropped a brick on me. So now if I have an attachment, which, you pick up people you don't mean to, you can ground all you want to, sage all you want to, say the prayers all you want to. If they want to attach, they're going to attach. I don't care what you do. That's just been my experiences with this. I can't speak for everybody else. That's me. So now I have somebody that has to pluck them off. If they come on me, they just pluck them. They're like, oh, you got that. Let me take care of that.
We've had so many people that have come here and just been doing like so many protection spells and so many crystals. And I always question that, like, is that really going to work? If something really wants to attach, will it? Can it?
Yeah, they will. They will. They don't care. I mean, I've been to a couple houses where I have grounded them for people. I have had them put copper wire in certain places. I have gotten rid of some bad spirit, but I've also been to houses where they've sat in the car with me, and I saw them get in, but I ignored them. I'd be like, just acted like I didn't see them. And then later they would stand over my bed, and I'd be like, all right, what do you want waking me up at 1 o'clock in the morning? Because I would, I'm trying to turn over, and then I see a 6'8" burnt figure standing over me, solid, scared me to death. And I'm like, what the hell do you want waking me up so early in the morning? I'd be like, get out. But they would stay because they would want. I had one from Colonial Williamsburg, Yorktown, that wanted me to feel his experiences before he crossed over. So that was 3 days of hell. I couldn't even go to the Heiko house with Crop because I was on the couch having to experience what the spirit went through from Yorktown. He just jumped in my car on the way home. And then the other one from a person's house that I was doing a investigation on, it followed me home. But that one just wanted to be crossed over. And then I actually cried after. I kept telling him, I was like, all right, I'll cross you over tomorrow. I'm just not in the mood to do it. And I hate to say it, I waited a couple of days, and then they crossed themselves over, and I knew they did because I just cried for a good 3 days. So I've had those type of experiences, and it's people can pick up attachments if they, like I said, it doesn't matter how much grounding you do. If they want to attach, they will. But I will tell when I go certain places like Old House Woods, the cabin on 360, if I tell them to stay back, they do. They are respectful enough to stay back.
Okay, that's actually one of my questions. So tell us about the cabin 360. What is your opinion on it? Because we've interviewed so many people that have come on our show, and they've said that it's, pretty one of the most active places that they've been to. So what's your thought?
It's very active. I've been to the cabin on 360 several times. I mean, I only live like an hour from the cabin. Yeah. So every time I go to the cabin on 360, whether it's the cabin, the woods, or the brick rancher, there's not one time I have not had an experience there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love going there because it's something new every time. I did Reiki there for a couple of events. I set my it was so bizarre what happened, but I set my Reiki table upstairs, and I was doing Reiki and oracle cards, oracle readings for people. And I was doing aura readings too, because I read people's auras. And I went downstairs to go get something to drink. Girl, I come back upstairs, there were pennies on the floor. Now, this is what they do with me. They leave pennies on the floor. Recently, my son and I went for a Halloween, / birthday party, Libra party. So I was, getting my stuff out the car. Going back and forth, getting stuff out the car. I come back in the kitchen, there's a penny on the floor. Mm-hmm. So I knew, and I looked at my son, Victor. I was like, was that there before? Because you would see where it was at. You would look down and see it if it was there initially when I walked in. It wasn't. So I have my collection of cabin on 360 pennies.
Oh, you have them all.
So but there hasn't been any time that I have not been there where there has not been any experience. And they like Reiki. They do like the energy work. Most spirits like Reiki. I don't know why, but they do. They just like it. And they know when you are a light worker. They just know it.
Why do they throw coins at you? I mean, you had that problem with the dimes.
I found dimes today out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, and I was at Old House Woods today, and I was like, okay, why am I finding these dimes? Why did I find that dime? Why did I find that dime? Dimes I know mean that you're going to have some changes in your life, and your angels are watching over you. There's lots of changes to come when you find dimes. Okay. Changes for the good. That's what that means. And of course, your pennies are your spirits. Spirits that are watching over you, or, maybe a loved one letting you know that they're there. And, hey, we're trying to show you some coins, feathers, turn to the clouds so you'll know that we're here. Because, people want that tangible part of their loved one. And sometimes I think if you're not used to seeing what we see, it would scare them. So they'll leave pennies, feathers, little trinket things. And, I got off a subject. I'm sorry, but I find pennies at the cabin, but the cabin is a really good place to investigate. I love going there. I never get tired of it. I've gotten some good EVPs, not on a necrophonic app either, just on a regular recording. On my
Wow.
body cam, I pick up all kinds of stuff.
So
The spirits don't like Dennis there. I can tell you
No?
that.
yeah.
Really?
I'm trying to keep all my language PG, but I mean, there's times where I had a recording. I have to find it when Dennis went down to the basement. He was walking downstairs. Can I say what happened? Because I mean, there's
Yeah,
a little bit of cussing.
we can't use like, you know,
Okay.
some language. but
Well, he said he went downstairs to the basement and he said, "Hello, a-hole."
Oh.
Every time he walks down, that's what he says. And there was no necrophonic app on. I had my recorder on and it said F you. But
Wow.
that they don't like them there.
Wow.
The one downstairs doesn't. But I have that on an actual recording and it's just like, it blew my mind.
Wow.
They don't like them. They don't
would
like
you
them.
stay cabin 360 overnight by yourself if you had to?
I would. I think I would. I've stayed there twice overnight.
By yourself?
Not by myself. I was with
No, but by
one.
yourself is the
He
question.
wants to.
I think I would, yeah.
You think you would or you would?
I would feel comfortable staying there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask you that is because we've interviewed other paranormal investigators who would not do that, who said that there is darkness there. There's something that is not good there as well.
That's true. That's true.
And I guess what I'm trying to separate is you said you would stay there alone
Yes.
with no one around on that property but yourself, where other investigators we've interviewed we couldn't pay them enough money to do that. So does that mean that the spirit, the bad one or whatever it is, doesn't affect you the way it would affect somebody else?
Well, you're talking about two different places. The cabin itself, I would stay in. The brick rancher where the malevolent spirit is downstairs, no, I would not stay there. The cabin I would, and I'll tell you why. I've done Reiki there several times. I've done oracle readings. The spirits there know me and they call me by name. So I would not be afraid. They ask for me when they're at events. If we go to an event like this past Halloween Libra party, okay, I'm outside. I get Savannah who comes outside to tell me, or it was either, I think it was Chris or Savannah, one of the two. They told me, "Hey, they're asking for you upstairs."
Wow.
So can you come upstairs? It wasn't even Savannah. I apologize. Somebody approached me and told me that I needed to come upstairs because they were asking for me by name. So the cabin I would not be afraid to stay at. And I think it's because they know me. The brick rancher next door, hell no. Not by myself.
So,
Nope.
okay. Well, we talk about intention, the intent of a person making contact with the other side. Now, I've done this study. I've been in the paranormal field a while. I've done this study. Now, let's say we take a carpenter, and the carpenter is told to work there, the place that's really got the darkness, overnight, and don't stop till the morning because it's your job. You get paid. You have to do it. And he's like, okay. He doesn't believe. He just does his job. Is it that he's not affected because he does not believe, where other people who have abilities are affected?
Could be. It's funny you're talking about that because Kimberly Moxley and I were talking about something like that today. And one of my girlfriends, Marjorie, too. I went to a house yesterday that I took pictures of, that I have a picture of Robert E. Lee sitting in the window. Okay. Well, the lady that owns this house now allowed us to go into it yesterday for, Halloween. She opened up the house and somebody asked her if the house was haunted. And she said, no, it's not haunted. There's nothing haunted in here. And my thought process was, and she was a non-believer person. She didn't believe in spirit, so it probably doesn't affect her. But yet I have a picture of an apparition standing in her window, but it's not haunted. So I think that if a person is a non-believer, then it may not affect them.
Yeah.
Like it would us, because we're super sensitive and we pick up on the energy. But a non-believer person isn't gonna think nothing of that. They're just going to go about their daily life and not,
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And then, I go into some of these stories where a family who doesn't believe in heaven, hell, they're atheist, they move into a home, which the home had murders in it, and they just didn't care. They lived there, but yet they don't believe, but they're affected physically
Mhm.
by their medical conditions and financially
Yeah.
by their financial. So do you think whether they believe or they don't believe
Yeah.
that spirits can and will?
Manipulate in other ways.
Yeah.
I think so. I will find out because we have a murder that took place in a house up the road here, and the house is sold and people are moving into it. So I'm
Oh.
anxious to see what's going to come out of that because the lady
Probably
that
like a little spy on the corner that's just waiting and watching.
oh,
Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about our own book of life. Do you think that before you were born, you've chosen and you've written out what you want to experience in this lifetime?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that everything is, I think our whole life is planned. We just don't know certain things are going to happen with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I did sometimes.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like
hard for me to answer because I don't
Yeah.
know.
there are many people that believe in different religions that we've written the book of our own life. Because you said that again, you've been reincarnated multiple times. I feel like I've been here before, and then it kind of leaves me like, well, did I learn all my lessons in the last lifetime? Well, did I have to rewrite things and start over again?
Evidently, I didn't learn anything according to the person that did my reading because I got to pay off all this karmic debt. So evidently I didn't learn nothing. And I mean, he's a pretty good person that does readings. And, I wanted to try to get a reading from somebody I really didn't know.
Yeah.
So, and then he
Yeah.
ends up emailing me a 30-page document on my reading. I mean, that's how thorough he is. And I'm sitting over
Wow.
here like, I got to do this stuff by
And
by
did you believe
January.
him? Did you believe him though? You would
Did I
know
what?
if you you believed him, right?
I do. Oh yeah, he was on point with a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay.
He was on
Good.
point with a lot of things that I didn't even he didn't know anything about me, nothing. And so there were things that he was able to tell me that he wouldn't have known.
Okay.
So yeah, he was pretty on point.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Some people have those abilities. They can pick up certain things
Yeah.
Yeah.
without fishing for information.
Right.
Paranormal equipment. What do you like to use?
Hmm.
Do you like to use anything? SLS, REM pod,
Probably doesn't
K2?
use it.
You know what? I used to not use any paranormal equipment at all, to be honest with you. I would just use me. I would think I was the paranormal equipment. But now I like to have that validation. So my favorite piece of equipment is a REM pod.
Okay.
REM
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah, I love my REM pod. I mean, I have different pieces, but I like the REM pod. I don't know why. I just like it.
Yeah.
Have you or anyone on the team you work with ever caught a full body apparition?
I have not. I can't speak for the team. I haven't been on crop that long. I've been on them, been with them for over, it's going to be, I think, a year and a half.
Okay.
So I don't know of any full bodied apparition pictures they have. I have the only ones that I have is in my little collection. When I take pictures around town, I have one in the Ralph Wormley house that looks like the Exorcist little girl. You can see her hair and her face and everything. Of course, she scratched and bit me because she's not very nice. And then the full-bodied apparition sitting in the window, which I can send you out of my collection of full-bodied stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what
Yeah.
about talk to us about your show?
Yeah.
So
Five
how
Time
long?
with Geri.
Yes. How long have you been doing that, and how has it been for you?
I have been doing that show. It's going to be over a year. I had to take a 6-month break due to my dizziness and vertigo. I couldn't be on the air.
Yeah.
It covers paranormal investigators. It covers I have people that are psychic mediums on there. I really like to talk about different spirituality things because, again, there are so many people out there, and I don't know if they've come to you or not, but I get people that come to me and they're struggling with what they have and they don't know how to handle it. So I'm trying to find more people that, have the same thing I have so that people can understand that they're not by themselves and that there are people like us that they can talk to so that they don't think they're going cray cray.
Yeah.
But that was the intent of my show. It was in the beginning, it was to like teach people about their chakras, teach people about auras. And it's still going to be that way, but it turned more into, really paranormal, talking to paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
So,
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I like the name of the
it's
show.
a good
too.
show.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on aliens? Since there's a lot of talk all over the news about it.
Well, if you looked if I flipped my camera around and showed you my little dish, I believe in aliens. I have a whole dish full of them. I have pictures of things that I think that look like UFOs to me. When I looked up, I believe in them. I think that they exist. I don't know why I don't know why I'm collecting them. Actually, my son gives them to me. And when he was younger, he told me that that's what he was. So, yeah, we had a pretty intense conversation about that, but he has these little aliens that he collects and then he brings them to me and I put them in my candle holder thingy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've had it interesting. You know how kids come to you or people come to you with a past life?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of what our conversation was, but it was more of a alien type conversation.
Star
Wow.
Children.
Yeah, and I believe them. I have a
Yeah.
shirt that says Star Siege. It's like I know. So, yeah, and he has the same abilities I do. So
Now, is he your only child?
I have two. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old is more into what I'm doing here, and my 16-year-old, he was into some things, but he's finding his way with his individuality, and that's okay.
So they definitely have your gifts then.
Oh yeah.
Both of them.
Yes.
Funny how
one likes to admit more than the other, but yes.
Yep, there's always one.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
As long as you don't knock your mom, or try to say, she's cray cray, we're okay. Because I mean,
No,
you want
listen,
a weird mom.
Well,
look, the Horsefly Chronicles home. I don't know how much you know about it, or even if you do know about it, but when I first told my story, I got criticized. I got through the roof, but I wasn't going to argue back. I says,
Right.
I'll prove it to the world that this is real. Ghosts are real.
Right.
And how I did it was I had over 51 paranormal teams come to my home over the course of 7 years to prove the existence of the afterlife. And these are notable paranormal teams, which one of the ones is NASPR. I've done that for a reason, because when toys go off without batteries, you cannot give me a scientific explanation how that's possible.
Yeah.
Right.
It isn't possible. And the fact that it happened after the home was blessed tells me that there's a retaliation from the ghost to us, showing, hey, we can do this. Be careful.
Yeah.
So paranormal phenomenon does exist.
Yep.
Some people may have experiences and some may never, ever have an experience.
And that's okay.
Right.
But that's okay.
That's
the learning, it's the teaching, it's the validating. And if I didn't take anybody's word, I don't believe anybody, I still can't prove how toys go off without batteries, because I can't. So that's my point, is that it is real. And what you're doing is great.
Yeah.
And believe in yourself, believe in what you do, because you are the teacher, you are the messenger, and you are the person going forward on this journey, helping others. With that said, we're at the top of the hour. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you have going on next.
Vibe Time with Geri. I have a Facebook page, and it is called Vibe Time with Geri. So I do have my own page. My show is going to be resuming. Let me get those dates for you real quick because I decided to take a couple week break. I needed a mental break. So my show is going to be resuming November 16th with John Stevens. We're going to be talking paranormal events that are going to be coming up. And that is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, I have my own Vibe Time with Geri Page. And I just tell people to friend me on Facebook if they want. That's under Geri Pritchard Reyes. That's where I put a lot of my stuff out as far as, different paranormal experiences and some of the things that I get to wake up to every morning.
Man, how you do it.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
on
coming on
tonight.
tonight. Yes.
I appreciate it. It's a pleasure. It really was. It's an honor that y'all asked me to come on your show, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, this is a
So nice
great
of you.
show. Everyone, to the listener, please share it with your friends. A lot of information on the show. And Julie, finish it up.
Okay, guys. Well, special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them. Please join us next Monday night on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And stay tuned for the Angel Rock with the amazing Laura Lee Colton coming up next.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great,
Thank
safe
you.
night. Catch you soon.
Good night.